Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Omarion Show, and this video is all about the running back position. I'm giving you updated positional rankings through the top 60, but I've already given you the top 40. We're not going to go super in-depth. If you want more of a breakdown on why I like a player and stats on why I'm ranking him there, go ahead and check out my previous videos. But here, we're just going to go 2 by 2 in some tiered rankings. There's a lot of similarities, usually between one player and some counterpart elsewhere in the league. They're usually in a very similar situation. A lot of circumstances kind of mirror each other. So let's start at the top. We're at 1 and 2. I am bumping up Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs above Saquon Barkley. They're both in year 3, 23 years old, bust-proof situation, first-round picks. What is there not to like about Bijan and Gibbs? I think their efficiency could go up this season. I think there is room for growth with Penix in Atlanta and David Montgomery at 28 years old. They could both have more of a role this season, and I expect about 20 points per game from both of them. I think they're bust-proof, no doubt about it. I want them more than anyone. And I did drop Saquon down 2 spots. He's my running back 3, but I also bumped up Derrick Henry 2 spots as well at RB4. This is the second-year stud that should be just as elite. It's not their second year in the NFL, but it's their second year with their new team, and last year was so good, it feels unwise to bet against it. The Eagles offense, the Ravens offense, you know there's at least 15 rushing touchdowns available for this running back, and as long as they stay healthy, there is no way this doesn't work out. And these are redraft rankings at the end of the day, so my previous rankings, maybe with some more best ball recency bias in mind, I did put CMC above Henry, but I think McCaffrey has more injury concern, even though Henry is 31 years old. He just always stays healthy. Other than that foot injury that cost him half a season like 4 years ago, he's been phenomenal, a really safe pickup every single time. I'm not going to bet against him. I trust the touchdown production in that Ravens offense. I really trust Saquon as well. And the reason I brought him down isn't so much the Madden curse, but just the fact that he's 5 years older and the fact that he didn't catch anywhere near as many receptions last year in Philadelphia as he was in the past. So I wish both of these guys caught more passes, but the touchdowns are just going to be so safe. Let's go with some guaranteed picks at the top with Saquon and Henry behind Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs. But tier 3, I'm calling it the Shanahan running back. It's Christian McCaffrey and DeVon Achane. And I know Shanahan does not coach the Dolphins, but Mike McDaniel basically implements the exact same system. And ultimately, it comes with the elite upside and some of the pitfalls as well. For some reason, the Shanahan Niners running back has always been cursed, even though we've had some phenomenal years from Christian McCaffrey. Last year was probably one of the worst you could ask for. And there's always the chance that that Achilles injury does crop up again. But from what I've read, it sounds like the success rate in Germany with the stem cell treatment on that injury does have a very high success rate. So I think there's still another year left in the tank for him to be elite. There's also some big question marks with the receiving core. McCaffrey, as long as he's healthy, could be the RB1. It's insane not to factor that in. He has top 5 upside no matter what. But will he play a full season? Let's hope that's the case. He has missed big chunks of time in the past, but when it works out, when he doesn't miss time, it's always a right pick. So at number 5, followed by Achane in the exact same role, basically. Going to be a workhorse, going to catch a lot more passes than just about anyone. And in Tua's offense, he's elite. But Tua also has some injury risk. Achane heading into last year, we thought was an injury risk. He missed a lot of time in his rookie season, and perhaps that is still a liability. But last year he stayed healthy. I'm not going to worry about it too much. But if Tua misses time, this offense completely plummets, and Achane is no longer a top 10 running back. So a little bit of risk involved, but the Shanahan running back, always super valuable. Next up, we have true mirrors of each other. They were identical in points per game last year when they were operating as the RB1. For Jacobs, it was all 17 games last season. He averaged 16.2 points per game. That was literally RB7 in points per game. And tied with him was Chase Brown, but Brown only had that job in Cincinnati for 13 games. Zach Moss was a big factor for a early part of that season. So assuming everything is the same for both players, they're going to be just as good as each other once again. And I really see no red flag to worry about either of them. I bumped them up 2 spots as well because both of them are dealing with less competition in the backfield compared to a month ago. For Chase Brown, Zach Moss got cut. Samaje Perine and Taj Brooks are the backups. Have no concern about them. Chase Brown will be a workhorse yet again. And then with Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd was drafted last year but never played thanks to some injuries. He's injured again. He's not practicing, still irrelevant in that backfield. So Jacobs has no threat at all. As long as he stays healthy, he will be top 10. These are 2 of the safest picks I can find outside of Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs. Next up, they're real studs. They're really talented. They could be elite any week, but the team ultimately is holding them back a little bit, and that's probably going to limit their touchdown viability in Las Vegas and Indianapolis. I have Ashton Jeanty at RB9, Jonathan Taylor at RB10. And Jeanty in the Raiders offense is going to get a mountain of touches. Same applies with Jonathan Taylor. There's no threat behind them. The backup is irrelevant. That's the name of this tier. The backup is irrelevant. However, maybe the O-line in Las Vegas or just the quarterback play in Indianapolis is going to hold them back. I'm worried that the touchdowns are going to struggle to eclipse 10 on the season. That's the only way that they could bust, but even that is still a very high floor. I might not draft them top 5, but I'm definitely expecting top 12 running backs guaranteed with these 2 players. They're just too talented, and the volume is just so locked in. Next up at 11 and 12, I mentioned Bucky Irving moved down the rankings, and Omarion Hampton is right behind him. And the thing that these 2 players have in common is the fact that they just lost their left tackle. With Omarion Hampton, it's for the season. However, Joe Alt slides in from the right side, and losing the right tackle is not as terrible. In general, though, the efficiency is going to be diminished in this offense. But Hampton got a big upgrade because Najee has that eye situation. I don't know if Najee will ever get on the field. Hampton, I'm trusting as a top 12 player, but with no Rashawn Slater, he does move down a little bit. And with Bucky, I did have him ranked at 7 earlier in the offseason, and he does have that elite upside. He was averaging 24 points per game when he was only averaging 55% of the snaps in games that he overtook Rachaad White and was the clear RB1 in Tampa. This year, his snap share should go up, so he's going to be a much more consistent top 12 player. However, the exact snap share is to be determined, and perhaps it's not as big of a leap as I was expecting. With no Tristan Wirfs, the efficiency may diminish. So some of those plays that he was breaking for 30 plus yards might turn into a 1-yard loss perhaps, and that is a reason to be concerned. They're still elite prospects, definitely valuable players. They're both 22 years old. I want them on my team, but because of their left tackle injuries, I'm probably not ranking them top 10 anymore. Next up, I got Kyren Williams and James Cook in the top 14, and they both had some contract negotiations this offseason, but Kyren did sort his out. That's why he's moving up above James Cook, and because James Cook is still holding out, not practicing, that is why I'm still not quite convinced he is a better pick than Ray Davis. But as long as he's active, as long as he is on the field, he's going to be a top 10 running back. He has that type of potential. The touchdown production is elite, and that's what we've been getting from Kyren Williams historically the last 2 years as well. So these are players that could score 17 touchdowns. Last year, James Cook scored 18 of them. I think there is some risk for negative regression, and without some touchdown production, both of these players are not as elite as you'd hope. So Kyren might be losing touchdowns to Devontae Adams. There's also the herniated disc back injury for Matthew Stafford. And if Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback, that's not the same team in LA. So Kyren moves down outside the top 12 this year, in my opinion. But because he signed his contract, he is a bit safer than James Cook. But Cook is still potentially elite. If Ray Davis really capitalizes on this opportunity, however, we might only see like 12 touchdowns for Cook. Ray Davis appears to be making the most of his opportunity running with the ones while James Cook sits out. So Cook is more of a red flag. Kyren, hoping he stays healthy, has some more competition in the backfield, but the contract definitely secures the fact he is their guy in LA. and I would trust both of these players to remain elite ceiling guys. I think they're both top 15, guaranteed. Next up, the following two players are some elite second round picks who are going to catch a shit ton of passes this year. I have Kenneth Walker at 15 and TreVeyon Henderson at 16. The rookie is really looking good. His preseason game, TreVeyon Henderson looked phenomenal. He scored a opening touchdown on a kick return to start the game off. What more could you ask for? He also looked phenomenal when getting the ball. He was really good in the pass department. And I think Ramondre Stevenson is going to be an afterthought as early as week 1. So love TreVeyon Henderson. I think his role is unquestioned. It's just hopefully he stays healthy and remains viable all year. Rookies sometime don't hold up in their first season in the NFL, but I think he's fine. A player with all 4 years in college under his belt should be okay and should be great in pass protection. I think he'll keep Ramondre off the field. And as long as Kenneth Walker's healthy, Walker's going to keep Charbonnet off the field. Reports in camp are glowing about Walker. They love him. And with the new offensive coordinator coming from New Orleans, we saw Alvin Kamara have top 5 value at the position last year. The volume in the passing game could lead to that level upside for Kenneth Walker as well. So both of them have moved up in my rankings. Walker was previously 19, now at 15. I think I need to draft more of him in round 5. I think he's a great pick. And then TreVeyon, my previous running back 21, I am completely cutting bait on Ramondre. I'm full fade on that backfield being anywhere close to a committee. It's going to be the TreVeyon Henderson show all season long, and I want both of these players in my lineup. I think they're the best flex plays you could have. If you have 2 top 15 running backs and Kenneth Walker or TreVeyon Henderson, you have one of the best teams in your league. I think elite running back is the winning strategy this season. So love those guys. And then the next tier, I want to rank higher, but unfortunately they're both in an unnecessary committee. At RB17, I have Breece Hall followed by RJ Harvey at number 18. And Breece Hall, I've been ranking him here all summer. I am not moving him at all. But the camp reports are some reason to be worried. It looks like Braelon Allen is going to have a very legit role in this offense. And Aaron Glenn is talking about them as a 1A, 1B, and especially in the run game, Breece Hall might not have the same role. He's still going to be an elite pass catcher, still has 25-point upside, but week to week, I think he's very touchdown dependent, and it's no guarantee to return value. I think Breece is a very overpriced option in round 3. I think he's more of a 5th round selection. I would rather have TreVeyon Henderson straight up above him. So not excited about Braelon Allen vulturing touchdowns, not excited about Justin Fields doing the same, and I am kind of worried that as the season moves on, the writing's on the wall. Breece Hall's going to move to another team next season. I don't think he's going to get re-signed. I don't think it's going to last for Breece in New York. So terrible landing spot coming out of the draft. Really talented player. I just don't think the Jets running back is ever a player you're dying to invest in at such a high price tag. Last year, he was a bust in round 1. And RJ Harvey has the chance to bust as well because the backup J.K. Dobbins is relevant, but also not relevant enough for me to pretend like RJ Harvey can't beat him out and is definitely more talented. I do think RJ Harvey is the guy you want in this offense. Also a 2nd round pick, probably more likely to stay healthy, younger than J.K. Dobbins, nowhere near the laundry list of injuries. And if Dobbins goes down by week 3 with a season-ending Achilles injury again, no one would be surprised. So there's a huge ceiling in Denver. The committee is unfortunate and kind of unnecessary, but then there's always the chance that they realize it was stupid all along and do just commit to this player and they close out the season with elite upside. I think 25 points is possible for either guy any given week. Hopefully the backup does go down, miss some time, and just dwindle in terms of their snap share competition. So love them. I just wish they were getting more touches. But the next 2 players in the top 20 are extremely safe picks, if not for their age. I have the 30-year-old workhorses in this tier, James Conner at 19 and Alvin Kamara at 20. The fact that the offensive coordinator change in New Orleans is now Kellen Moore, not a guy that likes to throw passes to the running back anywhere near as much as you would hope. I do think I rank Kamara a little too high because at 30 years old, the injury concerns are massive for these two players, and Kamara does not have a good quarterback at all. Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler is just going to ruin this team entirely for fantasy upside. So no thanks in New Orleans. I bumped down Kamara 4 spots overall. I think I was ranking him too high earlier in the offseason. And then James Conner, I had at 20. I think I'd rather have Conner than Kamara straight up because the Cardinals offense is definitely more prolific, more viable for scoring upside than New Orleans is. And they're both the same age. Last year, James Conner did play more games than Kamara in his own right. So even though Kamara was top 5 last season, Conner was top 15 in his own right. And I think they're both top 20 still as long as they stay healthy. At 30 years old, you usually want to be fading running backs. Not everyone is as safe as Derrick Henry. Next up, outside the top 20 are still very good options. I think if they're your RB2, you're in great shape. The volume, I think, is locked in. And another reason I trust their job security is the fact that they're both paid over $8 million per year. I have Chuba Hubbard at 21, DeAndre Swift at 22. It seems like everyone loves Chuba Hubbard this season, but I don't think he's as elite as they're giving him credit for. I do think Rico Dowdle is going to steal some of his volume in the passing game. I don't think he's as big of a workhorse this season. He's still the guy you want in Carolina, but I also don't know if they're going to rely on him as heavily in the red zone now that they have Tet McMillan. Their receiving game is much better, and I think Bryce Young needs to come into his own, is going to look pretty good, and possibly throw it to Tet McMillan more often. In the red zone, I don't know if they're going to hand it off as much. So I do think Chuba's coming down just a little bit. Last year, he was a breakout. We didn't see it coming. We knew he was talented, but he was never looking that good up until last season. So there's a chance he regresses, doesn't look as elite all of a sudden. Maybe the volume leads to higher injury risk. Last year, he did break down at the end of the season. But DeAndre Swift is also locked into a shit ton of volume, $8 million contract as well. And Roschon and Kyle Monangai are just not going to cut it to steal enough volume away for him to be a bust. So Swift has been kind of erratic in terms of his scoring, but has stayed healthy the last 2 seasons. That's been a major problem for him. And Ben Johnson is familiar with him. I do think he's going to unlock the highest potential out of Swift that they can get. They improved the O-line with some trades and free agency. I think Swift is a pretty safe pick. And just like Chuba Hubbard, I think as a RB2, you have an extremely safe, locked-in player with a lot of job security. At running backs 23 and 24, these two 28-year-olds might fall off, but it's not going to happen in week 1. I got David Montgomery at 23 and Tony Pollard at 24, and Montgomery looked like he might be fading in this offense. The volume might not be the same. The snap share is definitely going to favor Jahmyr Gibbs this season, but he's still good enough where they're not going to just let him disappear. They gave him a contract extension, and he's one of the best backups in the NFL. He's not going to go away, but I'm a little worried that his touchdown role does diminish as the weeks go by. I don't think they're going to be winning games as often as they were in the past. That will lead to more Jahmyr Gibbs game script, in my opinion. So Montgomery is usually on the field to kill the clock and seal the game. If they're trailing a little bit more like I expect, the schedule's really difficult, and they lost their 2 coordinators, I think they'll have to rely on the upside that Gibbs offers just a little more often. So Montgomery, not the safe top 20 option this season, but still a really valuable piece. And then if Gibbs ever goes down, he has elite upside. And now Pollard is experiencing that elite upside right now. Just yesterday, Tyjae Spears, his backup, went down with a high ankle sprain, and that's going to be a long injury. That's not an easy injury to recover from. And the first half of the year, this is clearly Tony Pollard's role all to himself. So he's going to probably put up top 20 numbers until Tyjae comes back, and only once Tyjae is healthy will I think he dwindle back down to the lower end flex options. But Pollard in an upgraded offense has some really high upside. He is 28 years old though, and perhaps that added volume does lead to a quicker injury this season. Last year he did miss some time at the end of the year, but Pollard is in a really good situation. As long as Tyjae is off the field, his role is unquestioned, and I'd feel pretty safe drafting him this season. at least heading into it, week 1, I know I'm getting the workhorse in Tennessee. Next up, this tier has a ton of upside, could be league winners, but the injury risk is undeniable. I have Isaiah Pacheco at 25. He stays put in the rankings. He gets jumped by Tony Pollard. And then Joe Mixon does move down 11 spots, nowhere near as safe as we thought. So I'm hoping these guys are going to be fine, but it's just not a guarantee. According to reports, Pacheco is looking fine, but Kareem Hunt is still the 1B in this backfield. And Brashard Smith looks like a really good pass catcher. Pacheco's role is probably not going to be a full workhorse this season, but he is the RB1 in Kansas City. That's very valuable. And Joe Mixon is still the RB1 in Houston. That's also a very valuable asset to have. But Mixon dealing with a foot injury, we have no idea when he's going to start practicing, let alone play, and it might be lingering all year long. He'll be 29 years old this season, and I don't feel confident, even when he comes back on the field, he won't step back off of it with another injury. So Mixon, a bit of a gamble, but at some point it's worth the risk. Just like Pacheco, the ceiling is top 12, and at some point you got to take a shot on these high risk, high reward players. So hopefully they can stay healthy. There's a chance they will, but the odds are increasing every day that they won't. Next up, this tier I think is a big gamble, and both of them might lose their job, but it's possible that they retain it all year long. I have the players in a 50-50 committee that I'd prefer because they're pass catchers. At 27, I have Aaron Jones, 28, Jaylen Warren, and these are my picks to be the most valuable running backs in their respective offenses. The Vikings, probably going to be a high-scoring team with J.J. McCarthy. They probably lean on the running back a little more. However, Jordan Mason coming into the mix, going to steal some touches. But Aaron Jones, way better in the passing game. Jordan Mason barely caught anything last year in San Francisco, and I do think that's more valuable with the rookie quarterback. Touchdowns are usually kind of hard to come by in a Kevin O'Connell offense. So even though Jones won't score as many as last year, I think he's still going to be big part of this offense. And last year he stayed healthy. It's possible it happens again, but he is 30 years old. I understand if you prefer Jordan Mason, but I don't think he's going away. I still think Aaron Jones, the highest paid option in this backfield, will remain the RB1 in Minnesota. And then I also believe Jaylen Warren is the RB1, the guy you want in Pittsburgh. They brought in the rookie Kaleb Johnson, but reports are that he's terrible in pass protection, and with a 41-year-old quarterback, that is a very important skill set to have. So I think they're going to take the floor of Jaylen Warren more often than the upside and lack of guarantees with Kaleb Johnson. If Rodgers gets wrecked and sacked multiple times because Kaleb Johnson does not pick up the blitz, they're going to yank him off the field and just stick with Warren, the guy they know will get that job done. So I'm going to trust the veteran in both instances. Neither backfield I think is that valuable because of the committee, but I think because he catches passes, because they're going to trust him, give him a little more snaps than the rookie, I do think Jaylen Warren is the guy you want. Same with Aaron Jones. I think they'll be more valuable at the end of the season. But if you play in a non-PPR league, I'd probably have it flipped. In this next tier, I'm hoping that these guys in a relative 50-50 committee do get the goal line value. I think that's the big path for success, and where I could be wrong about the other guys. But I do think Kaleb Johnson has higher upside than Jordan Mason. I just don't know if he has the higher floor. And I think because of his true potential, especially if Warren goes down, this rookie could put up really good numbers in the run game. But I don't think they trust him. I think it's going to take some time for him to come into this backfield, and he's not just going to slide in to Najee Harris's job. But maybe on the goal line, he is more talented, and that could lead to more fantasy production. I hope so, but I'm kind of reluctant to believe it'll happen. So Kaleb Johnson right behind Jaylen Warren, and then Jordan Mason at RB30, I think is less likely to really steal the job from Aaron Jones. Like with the rookie, they're waiting for it to happen. It's just a matter of time. It may not happen this season. With Jordan Mason, I think he's their guy next year, but not this season unless Aaron Jones gets hurt. They pay Aaron Jones considerably more than Jordan Mason, and Mason does not have a 3-down skill set. He was not a good pass catcher last year when he was the starter. He still has really high upside. I could envision myself being wrong about Aaron Jones, but I just don't think he's stealing that job unless Jones gets hurt. So hopefully he scores some touchdowns. Maybe I'm ranking these players incorrectly, but my gut says stick with the veterans in these two backfields. Next up is a tier I am ignoring completely. I have no desire to draft either of these players. They're starting week 1 as the starter, but in my opinion, they're both dead men walking. I have Travis Etienne at 31, Brian Robinson Jr. at 32, and while in the preseason in week 1, they might be giving them a lot of work and giving them an opportunity to prove themselves, I really think it's a test that they're just waiting for them to fail. I think as soon as the coaching staff gets a hint that these guys are not the same players anymore, if there's an excuse to bench them, they will take it. And I think the guys on the depth chart will overtake them before the season is over. In Jacksonville, I think Bigsby is already better than Etienne. He was last year, and I don't think Etienne is going to be anywhere near as efficient as he was 2 seasons ago. So I'm not trusting Etienne. If they can get a team to bite and try and trade for him, they'll let him loose immediately. I don't expect Etienne to get re-signed at the end of the year. So kind of like Breece Hall, there's a lot of bad vibes. I don't trust Etienne very much, but right now, coming out of the preseason week 1 game, it looks like the volume will be there. And then with Brian Robinson Jr., last year, he was not that involved in their offense. Only 12 touches per game on average. He was hyper reliant on touchdown production that I think will dwindle. I think Deebo Samuel is going to steal like 4 of those touchdowns this year. And then I think Jacory Croskey-Merrit will also earn some valuable touches as well. So if, like last season, Brian Robinson starts to fumble or gets hurt, we will see JCM get a lot of snaps. And last year, even Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez did fill in with some decent viability when Brian Robinson was not there. So I don't think Eckler's going away in the passing game. I think his touchdowns are going away to other guys. And as soon as JCM is capable of taking over, I think he will. So dead men walking, no thank you. I'm not drafting Travis Etienne or Brian Robinson Jr., even though to start week 1, they are looking like the guys you want in their respective offenses. Next up, I also have a pair of week 1 starters, but because they're on much lower scoring teams, I don't think the touchdowns are ever going to materialize at a rate you can trust. So they might have more job security, they might stay the guy longer, but because it's in the Giants and the Browns backfield, I'm going to pass. No thank you with Tyrone Tracy or Dylan Sampson. I have no desire to draft a committee running back in either Cleveland or the Giants backfield. I just don't think it's going to lead to much production that is valuable in fantasy. Even if they get like 20 touches in a week, if they don't score a touchdown, I don't think they're cracking 10.5 points. So I'm probably not drafting either of them either. I don't think Travis Etienne, Brian Robinson, Tyrone Tracy, or Dylan Sampson have much value because of the circumstances they're in, and probably at some point the backup does overtake them. Like if Cam Scatterboot wasn't hurt, I'd probably trust him more, but he hasn't been practicing as much this offseason as Tracy has. And then if Judkins can just get his shit together, if he doesn't get suspended, you know the Browns would like to get their 2nd round pick on the field ahead of their 4th round guy. So Dylan Sampson could lose his job, so could Tracy. It's not that safe, and the offense is just trash in the first place. I'm going to pass on these players. At 35 and 36, I have my first like true handcuffs that probably don't have much starting value if the starter's healthy, but if the starter ever goes down, would become the most valuable league-winning assets to own. Bar none, I don't think there's any comparison in what we know we're going to get with these two guys. I got Ray Davis at 35, Zach Charbonnet at 36, and James Cook still holding out. There's a chance Ray Davis really steals a lot of touchdowns. The Bills are a run-first team, especially on the goal line, and Zach Charbonnet was filling in tremendously when Walker was hurt. Walker has missed time each of the last 3 seasons, and Charbonnet last year averaged over 17 points per game when he was the starter. Both of these guys would be top 12 if the starter went down. Next up, I got J.K. Dobbins and Jaden Blue. Both would have top 20 appeal if they had the job. It's just a big red flag if that actually happens this season, because Dobbins probably is in a committee, and then he might also get hurt by week 3, a way that keeps him off the field the rest of the year. If he tears his Achilles again, no one would be that surprised. Like Dobbins missing 10 plus games is pretty much expected. So a lot of risk with him putting up a lot of bagels, but if RJ Harvey ever goes down, you could get a 20-point player every week. In Denver, it's a very valuable backfield. And then Jaden Blue, probably going to win the job in Dallas, inevitably. Last year it was Rico Dowdle. It took like 7 games for it to happen. But once it did, Dowdle was a weekly flex play. And Jaden Blue is the most talented player they have in that backfield. He's really good in the passing game as well. So I think it's just a matter of time. His speed will win out. I don't trust Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams in the long run. But perhaps it's more of a committee. Perhaps the Cowboys offense is really trash with Brian Schottenheimer calling plays. Perhaps Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders never give him a chance to really shine in Dallas. So there is risk here, but there's top 20 upside. The floor, however, does not exist. Next up, the next 2 players in the top 40 are very annoying because I know they have a role, but they don't catch passes, and there's probably limited upside. If they don't score a touchdown, they're not probably cracking 9+ points. And Tank Bigsby at 39, Braelon Allen at RB 40 are valuable players, definitely moving up in the rankings. However, I'm not totally convinced they're ever going to be safe plays in your lineup. It's just too big of a committee for both guys. They're not the number 1 option in their backfield, but they might be the more consistent options in the backfield. If you just need a safe 8-point floor, these are the guys you want. Bigsby is really looking good in practice. He was better than ETN last year. And if Bashal Tutin ever does emerge, Tutin's going to take over ETN's job, not Tank Bigsby. But Bigsby doesn't catch passes. It's very touchdown dependent. And in the 3-man committee in Jacksonville, that's probably not a player you're dying to start every week. And Braelon Allen is getting a lot of hype from the head coach. I think he does have a legit role. But again, it's the Jets. How many touchdowns are there in the first place? And Breece Hall is still the guy you want. Braelon Allen probably not going to steal his role in the passing game, and that is valuable. In PPR formats, these guys are not as safe. So fade them more in a full PPR format, but half PPR, I do think they're still top 40. There's also the upside if the starter goes down. Next up, though, a player I really loved earlier in the season, and a guy I thought would have a bigger role. The preseason injuries, however, have slowed each of them down. It's Tyjae Spears at 41, Cam Skattebo at 42. Tyjae just had a high ankle sprain. He's probably going to miss the next 8 weeks until he's fully healthy, and he might not be the same until like week 10 of the NFL season. So that's not good for Tyjae. Tony Pollard is the guy you want entering the year, but I still have some optimism that by the end of the year, Tyjae could be the guy you want straight up. He could steal Pollard's job if Pollard gets hurt. So I still think Tyjae has some upside, but with the injury, it's just brutal luck. And then Skattebo would have probably been ahead of Devin Singletary at this point, if not for the injury of his own. He's dealing with a hamstring strain, and while he's looking good in the passing game, he's low on the depth chart because he's not practicing very much. So Skattebo may be the guy you want down the stretch, but I don't know when these guys will take over. It's possible it does not happen this year. Injuries are a bummer. Next year, though, I'd probably expect them to be the RB1 in their backfield. Next up, the following 2 guys are decent floor plays, but very uninspiring backups. They are getting enough snaps to be relevant. I got Rachaad White at 43, Ramondre Stevenson at 44, and they're going to be kind of annoying to the guys above them, but not talented enough to demand more than a third of the snaps in this backfield. And as long as they don't get more than 35%, I think that's going to be well high enough for the other guys to be very productive. Last year, Bucky Irving was the guy on just 55% of the snaps. I think 65% is baseline minimum for Bucky Irving. Rachaad will still be relevant, especially in the passing game, but that's really touchdown dependent and just not enough volume to carry you to 10 points a week. So he's a valuable handcuff, just not convinced he gets enough volume when Bucky's healthy to be valuable in fantasy. And you're probably just keeping him on the bench all year long, hoping for Irving to miss some time. And same applies with Ramondre. He might be more relevant week 1, but his role will dwindle very quickly. And TreVeyon Henderson just looks way too talented. You want the other players in this backfield way more upside compared to these veterans that I'm worried might lose their job entirely by the end of the season. Rachaad White and Ramondre Stevenson, not the brightest options in terms of upside. Next up, we have Bashal Tutin and Najee Harris, and while there is still hope here, it's dwindling fast. Tutin looking like the clear third stringer. They're giving Etienne a chance to redeem himself. I'm not convinced it'll happen, but it's also possible that Tutin never gets on the field at a high enough rate to matter. So it may not be a three-headed committee. Tutin might not be ready this season, but if he does ever get the job, the upside is phenomenal. Really, really good athleticism and speed. I'm willing to take a chance, but at this point, you're not expecting him to be involved in week one. You're hoping it matures and develops later in the season. And same applies with Najee Harris. Right now, I have no idea when he's getting back on the field. But if Omarion Hampton ever misses time and Najee Harris can play, then you have a top 15 running back on your hands. This Chargers offense is still really valuable, even without Rashawn Slater. So it's probably not going to happen. It's possible Najee Harris gets cut, but there's also the chance that he still does have that elite contingent upside if he can get back on the field, and Hampton does go down. At running backs 47 and 48, I have Roschon Johnson and Kareem Hunt, and these players are going to be relevant. The only path they have to be startable is if they do vulture all the touchdowns. I think it's possible that Roschon has a big role in that department in Chicago. That is what he was doing last year, but I am not convinced that Ben Johnson is committed to him long term. I think if they can get Kyle Monangai in there instead, they will take that opportunity. But maybe DeAndre Swift is not going to be a goal line option at all. Maybe all of the volume in this backfield that you care about does go through Roschon Johnson. And the same applies as the Chiefs' backfield is up for grabs. I don't think Kareem Hunt is going to disappear, and it's possible he does take a lot of snaps on the goal line in the red zone. That would be the most concerning scenario of them all. If Pacheco can really look fully healthy and stay that way, then Kareem Hunt's role will probably diminish. And especially if Brashard Smith can prove something, then I'd really be worried about Kareem Hunt in a PPR format. That role would never, ever go to him if Brashard Smith does take it. So these two players have some value, but not very much. They're more so floor plays in a really deeper format. I think I almost prefer taking a shot on some of the backups that don't get any volume at all, but then get everything once the starter goes down. With guys like Kareem Hunt and Roschon, I have to rank them because they're maybe going to score a touchdown, but otherwise you're not getting more than 10 touches per game, and that's never something you can trust. So good luck with these guys. Next up are the rookies to watch to close out the top 50. I got Jacory Croskey-Merrit in Washington, a rookie I'm really excited for. I think will overtake Brian Robinson by the end of the year. And Woody Marks in Houston, I think is probably going to be more involved than Nick Chubb by the end of the day. So I think the pass catching value for Woody Marks is what keeps him afloat, and Nick Chubb is basically washed at this point. Some injuries have really derailed his career. Not expecting much from Nick Chubb, and the age concerns on Austin Eckler are also relevant as well. So a lot of outs for these players to overtake the players above him. I see nothing but upside, but then there's also the fact that week one, they probably don't have much of a role. It could never happen, but if it does, they could be top 25 very quickly. So that's it for the top 50. I'll just rip through the remainder of the rankings. I have Justice Hill and Austin Eckler, veteran pass catchers, in the next tier, the next two, followed by Isaac Guerendo and Trey Benson. These are handcuffs that would go from 0 to 100 real quick. While Hill and Eckler probably have a higher floor, more PPR value, Guerendo and Benson are not going to be in your lineup until the starter goes down. Once it happens, expect 20 plus touches per game from them, and they are top 15 assets if it ever happens. But it may never happen. You may never start them. Understand the risk when drafting them. But the next two are handcuffs to the best running backs in the league. We're not really projecting that Saquon or Bijan go down, but Will Shipley and Tyler Algier have just as much upside as well as handcuffs in Philly and Atlanta. Next up, some underrated handcuffs that also have high upside if the starter goes down. Rico Dowdle in Carolina, played really well last year in Dallas. And then DJ Giddens, a very good rookie prospect, I think would be the clear guy behind Jonathan Taylor if he misses time. Next up, these running backs that have been ruined by Cleveland. I have Jerome Ford and Nick Chubb. Chubb has had so many injuries. I don't think he'll have more than like a random touchdown type of upside. If Joe Mixon doesn't play, I'd rather have Woody Marks for sure. And then Jerome Ford might have some value, but they drafted 2 running backs this year to move off of him. If Judkins can't go, I'd still much rather have Dylan Sampson than Jerome Ford. So not dying to take them. They have equal value in my opinion. And then outside the top 60, I have both Cowboys running backs, Miles Sanders and Jeanty. Just put in Jaden Blue. I don't want these guys at all. And then next up, guys that may never see the field this year, but if they do get the start, watch out. I got Quinshon Judkins, the 2nd-round pick, with a lot of concerns, a lot of red flags, might get suspended. And then Keaton Mitchell might as well basically be suspended because Derrick Henry is not going to let him see the field unless they are in a blowout victory late in the 4th quarter. Keaton Mitchell not going to get on the field if Henry is healthy. Next up, I got Taj Brooks and Marshawn Lloyd handcuffs to some top 10 guys that kind of go under the radar but have high upside. And then next I have both of Kyren Williams' backups, Jarquez Hunter and Blake Corum. Not convinced who would be the guy if he went down. And then at 69 and 70, at this point, I'm not as convinced that Jalen Wright is the guy in Miami if DeVon Achane goes down. I also don't think the offense is as good without Achane. And if only there was one, I'd be able to trust them more. But it could be Wright, it could be Gordon. I don't know as of this moment. It's not appealing in Miami in the first place. And then outside the top 70, I got Brashard Smith, Jordan James, some elite upside 3rd stringers, hoping for the best. And then some 3rd stringers I don't want to forget about, but probably have a lower upside. Kyle Monangai in Chicago and Ty Johnson in Buffalo. And then 75 and 76, handcuffs that I just never think about, but are the RB2s in their offense. Raheem Mostert in Las Vegas and Devin Neal in New Orleans. Hard to believe they see the field and have a lot of value. So that's it for my running back rankings. Here are the top 60 on the screen, and really the only ones I'm dying to draft are the guys ranked in the top 24. I think once we hit Isaiah Pacheco and Joe Mixon, you can still want them on your team, but understand there's a lot more risk moving forward, and they're more so just flex plays, very touchdown dependent, and there's always some red flag that could lead to them being massive busts this year. Outside the top 30, I'd rather stack up some of those elite handcuffs that would pop thanks to an injury rather than some of the low floor options that may have a role week 1 but will never eclipse like 60% of the snap share. So really, I'm coveting the top 20 and more so the top 16. If I can get 2 players in the top 12, I am in excellent shape. And then if my flex play or RB3 is Kenneth Walker or TreVeyon Henderson, I think I'm positioned to win the league with that elite of a running back core. So that's my strategy this year, focusing on those higher end running backs. I would love to draft at least 2 running backs this year in the top 3 or 4 rounds. And if I can get a 3rd by round 6, if it's the right value, I think I'm poised to have the best team in the league. So running back, hyper valuable this season. Those are my rankings, and that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I'll update my receiver rankings this week and also rank every quarterback as well. Stay tuned for that. I'll see you next time. My name's Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching Nice and Blunt.